All right, welcome back to the Find Your 20 Coaching Insights Show, the show where I will share with you the top insights from recent coaching sessions I've had with my personal coaching clients to help you throw out the 80% that's holding you back in your business so that you can build a business that you actually love owning. And I want to tell you that this podcast is voted the #1 business podcast by my mom. So I think that's important to share. Also, if, as an example, if your business was housed in these 4 whiteboard markers. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see the 4 whiteboard markers. We got orange, green, purple, blue, and brown. This podcast would help you to throw out these 4 and really focus on that blue marker, because blue is my favorite color. So that's what we're going to focus on, is the 20%, the things that are really important in your business. And today I've got 3 things that I want to share with you from recent coaching interactions with my clients. And the first one is that specialization is special even when it's not special. Let me explain what I mean. I was talking to a client and we were talking about how to present what she was doing with a potential client. And I said, look, I would get on the phone with them and I'd say, hey, what I want to do is I want to find out more about your business. I want to find out what's important to you. I want to find out about the challenges you're having. And then you and I together can craft a solution that works best for your business. Now, here's the key. This client does leadership training, does corporate training. And she has 4 or 5, I think, different trainings that she can do. And most likely, one of those is the one that she'll come back to that potential client and say, I think we should do this. But by getting on the phone with that client, she can help them, or that potential client, she can help them feel like she's really understanding what they need rather than just prescribing a solution without knowing what they need. So in your business, find ways to provide specialization even if it's not completely special. Now, I want to dig into that more because I think that's such a value, especially if you're in something where it's a commodity, or it could be considered a commodity. Having that specialization really is impactful for people. People really love feeling like you have diagnosed their problem and helped them specifically. With my clients, that's what I do. Now I have the things that I usually is my go-to as far as how to help their business be better, how to improve their marketing, how to improve their products. Of course, I have the things that I love and that are most valuable in my eyes, but it's important for me to sit down with a client and to find out what's most important for them before I prescribe that solution. I mean, think about it. If you went to the doctor and they just immediately, you walk in, you sit in the examination room for 20 minutes because apparently that's what you do in a doctor's office. I don't know why that's acceptable for doctors to make you stay and wait that long, but they do. And then the doctor comes in, he sits down, he looks at you and goes, I know exactly what you need. Fills out a prescription, hands it to you, and walks out. How would you feel? You wouldn't feel very good, would you? Because you haven't even been able to say, Doc, it hurts here, or this is how it feels, or these are the symptoms I'm experiencing. Even though that doctor may have given you the right prescription, you wouldn't feel like you had been heard. You wouldn't feel like it was specific to you. You'd feel like it was just like a boilerplate thing he always does. Take 2 aspirin, call me in the morning. That is the value of specialization. Even if what you recommend after that doesn't change, helping them to feel like you have listened to them, helping them to feel like you understand their business or their situation or their relationship, whatever it is that you're doing in your business, makes a huge difference. And that's why specialization is special, even if it's not special. Even if you have, like my client, you have 4 or 5 or 6 options that you're going to recommend no matter what, having that conversation on the front end, helping them to feel like you've diagnosed that problem is massively valuable for your clients. All right. Oh, wait, hold on. Let's make sure this is on. Got to hit this thing. That's money right there. All right. Tip number 2. Insight number 2 from this past week. I shared this with a client as we were working through some things as far as preparing her audience to move into her next program. And it's the same client that I talked about in episode 0, in the intro episode, and I gave you a taste of what this podcast was going to be like. But one of the things that I shared with her was how to create, or one of the things I shared with her, let me rephrase that, was ways to help them to get the social proof they needed without beating them over the head with it. So I shared with her how to create social proof in 3 seconds or less. Now, the way to do that is essentially you need to use what I call micro testimonials. And this is something I learned from my friend Alan Thomas. And Alan Thomas is one of the best I've ever seen at this. And he doesn't call them micro testimonials, but that's the term I've used. Because Alan was able to create social proof very, very quickly. Alan works with men who are substantially overweight, men who need to lose more than 100 pounds. And Alan is so good that as you're talking to him, he'll say things like, well, it's just like Steve, who I started working with 3 weeks ago. You know, Steve and I have been working together, and he's already lost 32 pounds in the last 2 weeks. But what I was saying was, and then he goes on and he talks about something else. It's a micro testimonial. He doesn't go into a full case study. He doesn't do that. He just weaves it into his normal conversation. I had this client, they had these results, and then he moves on. So in your business, you can do the same thing. Find ways to use these micro testimonials during your webinars, during your emails, during your conversations with potential clients. Just weave in how something has happened. A way that I could do this is I could say, one example of how I work it with my clients is my client Suzanne. Suzanne and I met for the first time. We came up with one idea in her business, and it generated $19,000 for her in 3 days. And that's what I do for my clients. And that's it. Then you move on from there. That's a micro testimonial, and you can use that to make a big impact in your clients. Now, a few things to think about with those is one of the things is you want to have those identified beforehand. So you probably have some testimonials, you probably have some cool things that people have said about you. You may even have some case studies. But how can you cut those down into the person, the result, and how it benefited them very, very quickly? So like 1 to 2 sentences. So I would encourage you, if you want to use these micro testimonials, and I highly recommend that you do, because it's a really easy way to say, what I do works, my clients have success, my clients get results, without beating them over the head with it, without having to say, here's an entire 45-minute case study, or here's an entire 2-page testimonial. It's just very quick, it's very to the point, it's very matter of fact. And you can use that to build social proof very, very quickly. 3 seconds or less. It's not that hard. You just have to think in that way. How can I use these? So as you're teaching your programs, you could be using these as testimonials for the next step in your program. That's the way I was having my client use it, was she has them in a program, and then she wants them to move into the membership. So I was saying, as you're teaching this program, as you're interacting with them, weave in some testimonials, weave in some of these micro testimonials in about your membership. Say, hey, so-and-so who's been in the membership for the last 9 months has continued to have this result and this result and this result. And then you move on. That's it. You don't have to belabor the fact. You just quickly share a micro testimonial, move on. You create that social proof within 3 seconds. All right, number 3, the third tip I have for you for this week. And this was a conversation I had with another one of my clients, and she was talking about how to price her offerings. And it was a brand new offering, something she's never done before. And this is the what do I say? This is the warning that I gave her in that pricing. So if you're too cheap, you might lose the sale. What do I mean by that? A guy that I know online, Aaron Walker, gave this example one time, and I loved it. It was amazing. He said, if I showed up at your house with a Ferrari and I said, hey, this Ferrari is $20,000, it's yours. Nothing wrong with it. It's perfect. $20,000, it's all yours. What would your first question be? What's wrong with it? That's exactly what we would say. What's wrong with it? Come on, Alan or Aaron, there's got to be something wrong with it. Come on, Mark, you're not telling me the truth. There's something that I'm missing. It's too good to be true. And the same thing can happen with your pricing. If you're too low, people won't take you seriously. They have in their mind what the value of what they're looking for is. And if you're on the way low end of that, they're going to say, oh, what's wrong with it? Oh man, so-and-so must not be very good. Oh man, this must, they must be brand new. And you don't want to have that happen. So when you're pricing your products, or especially your services, remember that. Remember that nobody sells a Ferrari for $20,000. Make sure you're pricing your products and services at a level that indicates and is indicative of your value. So how do you do that? How do you know what that value is? That's a great question. So as I was working through this with my client this past week, here's the questions that I asked her. So hers is a service. And I said, okay, here's a couple of things that I would do. I said, I would want you to know exactly what your hard costs are. So is there travel expenses? Are there other costs that you have to incur? How much time is it going to take you to provide this service? I want to know what those hard costs are. I said, and then from there, and your time and your value for that is part of that as well. You know, how much time is it going to take, and how much are you willing to accept for that? Now, we're not looking at your ideal number at this point. It's just hard costs, just the base level. What do you need to do? What is your cost to provide that service or that product? Now that you have that number, now we can say, okay, what do we want our margins to be? If it's a personal service, if it's your time, I would highly recommend that you're at 30 to 50 or maybe even more as far as percent increase, as far as margin. But one of the things, and this is the second thing I told this client, is I would encourage you to reach out to some other people in your industry. Find out what they're charging. You know, find out what somebody else charges for a similar service. Look on websites, see if you can find what others have put on their websites as far as what they charge for that service, and get an idea and a ballpark of what that value is. And the most important thing I would say is in that process, I've heard this from many different marketers, there is no value in being second cheapest. You're either going to be the bargain basement person for that thing, and you're not going to make a ton of money, and that's really not the place you want to be. I don't think that's valuable for you as a service provider, as a course creator, as a business owner, to be the cheapest. Walmart can pull it off. Most people can't. You have to have massive volume to make being the cheapest valuable. So I would say you want to be a premium. You want to make sure that that value is there, because one, like I said at the beginning, if you're too cheap, you may lose the sale. And two, if you're not making the money that you feel like you should make on something, it becomes a drag very quickly. It becomes something that you're going to absolutely hate doing. It's going to be something that you resent, and you don't want that to happen. So build in that margin. Build it into where it's worth it, and build it into where if something goes wrong, especially if it's a service and it's your personal time, don't look at, when you're pricing, don't look at the rosiest prediction. If you're looking at it and saying, well, I could probably get it done in 5 hours, don't price it at 5 hours, because something's going to go wrong. Price it a little bit higher. So if you're too cheap, you might lose the sale. They might not see the value in it. And that's really what I want you to think about when you're pricing your offers, and especially your services. Don't go too cheap. We have a lot of struggle, and everybody struggles with, am I worth it? Is this service worth it? But I want you to think about it from, what is the value to your client if they achieve what you promise them that they can achieve? Not from your value. You know, we started off this process with, what are my hard costs? But that's not where we want to finish. We want to finish with, what is the value to the client? What is the value to the client? So if what you're doing is going to provide and allow the client to be more efficient, which could increase their revenue by $200,000 this next year, well, now $10,000 really isn't that big of a deal. You know, if the solution that you're providing and the training that you're providing can help them to, 2x their revenue, and they're already a $500,000 company, it's really not that big of a deal for them to invest $25,000. Now, the key is you have to be able to help them to see that value, and they have to know that that's there. And that's a different discussion altogether, and we can get into that probably in another episode. That's really the key, is the value there? And if the value is there, then absolutely you should charge that. And most of us should charge more than we think we should. Most of our internal values don't allow us to see what other people see the value of our products and services are, or other people see the value of who we are. And so we price them too low. But if you price them too low, you may lose that sale, because people don't always want the cheapest. You know, like my dad used to always tell me, you get what you pay for. And I think it's a sign of me getting older and turning and coming into middle age that I'm starting to realize that. And I'm not buying the cheapest whatever. I'm not going to the store and finding the cheapest tool or the cheapest resource or whatever it is, because I know I'm going to get what I pay for. And your clients are the same way. They understand that a lot of times they get what they pay for. And let's be honest, the clients that are bargain shoppers aren't always the best clients. To go back to our Walmart analogy, no offense, but look at a lot of the people that shop at Walmart. And I shop at Walmart all the time, don't get me wrong, but there's a certain type of person that looks for the cheapest of everything. I shop at Walmart because it's the only place in town. I don't have any other place because I live in a small town. But the more your clients pay, the better clients they will be. The more engaged they will be. The more they will follow your instruction. The more they will follow through on what you ask them to do. And those are the type of clients you want. So, as a recap for today, this week, from my coaching sessions, we have learned that specialization is special even when it's not special. We've learned how to create social proof in 3 seconds or less. And we've also learned that if you're too cheap, you might lose the sale. So that's it for today. I encourage you, if you haven't yet, make sure you grab a copy of my book, Find Your 20, which will help you to have more focus, get more profits, and to generate more time for the things that you love doing in your business. You can get that at findyour20.com/grab your copy. It's cheaper than at Amazon, and I will send it in super awesome packaging that you'll absolutely love with some extra goodies in it as well. So make sure to grab that. And if you're an audiobook listener and you prefer the audio, you can get that for free at findyour20.com/free audio. Until the next episode, get out there and chase your 20.